am the original Buck D. Wild. A whole lot of Cody TV. On rainy days, I'll watch it during the middle of the day, in the morning before I go to work. A lot of these movies you show now that we watched growing up, you know, it's kind of good to have these movies back on TV as you look at the way the world changed, the madness in it. You got any more questions, sir?
My favorite entertainers here.
Yeah, he's sitting right over there next to you, Tony Grigsby.
Sorry, Tony. I only get to see Gary once every, 5-10 years?
Been longer than that.
I forgot.
He had dark hair when he was here the first time.
You know, I forgot. I made a big mistake.
Yeah, Tony was up here, made his last appearance on our show, 2 weeks ago when Gary Morris was here?
Yeah, June 23rd.
That was just a funny line about your favorite entertainer. He was right there, sitting up there with Joseph and everybody, big crowd. Gary Morris, legendary from The Wind Beneath My Wings.
And knew Tony very well, too.
Yeah,
and Johnny
Tony knew all of those up there. And you said your dad was a good friend when he was alive?
Yeah, with working in the police department. Tony started off in the police department a long time ago, being a reserve. And he and my dad were good friends. They played ball in those Pigs and Smokies games when the police department and the fire department used to play each other. What I remember the most about him growing up, though, is when we were at Athens, he was the guy that kind of mentored the young football players. I think the guy had a mustache when he was 12. Watch out for that guy with the mustache, what those guys, but he was, the thing about Tony, could do anything. He was a good athlete. He could build a house. He could work on your car. Guy knew how to wire up stuff. I mean, you were talking about him doing things with y'all. He could do anything, you know. But the big thing about him that people didn't know is he really cared about people.
Oh,
he cared about kids. He cared about making us tough.
When you said he'll do anything for you, back 5 years ago when the big tornadoes came through, and y'all have heard me tell this story many times, there was a Associated Press article, somebody from Moulton had written, and she said, when there's damage to your house from a storm, the person you want to see the most is a redneck in a pickup truck with a ladder and a chainsaw. That was Tony Grigsby.
Yeah, exactly.
That guy would do anything for you. And like I said earlier in the show, he wasn't one of a kind. He was a kind all by himself. I mean, and Gloria brought up a good point yesterday. She said, you know, I always thought he'd be the last man standing. If I'm going to be stranded somewhere in the woods and wilderness...
I don't want Jamie with me. I want Tony with me.
Tony Grigsby. But you know, I'm surprised. I hate it, because I'm going to miss him tremendously. But I thought he'd gotten killed by a bear or something. A rattlesnake bit him, or, you know, he drowned out there in the river trying to...
Doing something dangerous.
Catch one
Swimming with a pack
catfish.
on or something.
But you know, he was just... he's the only man I know, too, that basically... did his own frog gigging tournament when he had his show here, Buck D. Wild, or Limestone Outdoors. He did a super job with that. But I got to tell you, Tony...
Hey, if we had to get rid of an armadillo, who did we call?
Tony Grigsby last year. Well, he didn't catch it, but he had traps everywhere around the house. Then a couple months ago, had a few shingles blow off the house. Called Tony Grigsby. Tony came over there and fixed it, charged me just a little bit, said, hey, you need to get your insurance company out of here. I think you got some hail damage. Hallelujah, brother. New roof. All thanks to Tony Grigsby. And, you know, we all got stories to say, but I'm telling you what, there was not a bigger redneck that would do anything for you than Buck D. Wild.
If you didn't get a chance to see your caller ID when he'd call you, every time you pick up, hey, fool.
Yeah, hey, fool.
You know who it was.
Hey, fool. I got some messages I'll read here toward the end that he sent me Saturday afternoon, but we just read that other thing of the day. Now, I guarantee you also that Sheriff Blakely's got a lot of stories to tell about him, too. Everybody's going to miss Buck D. Wild.
No doubt.
He used to call our show in Florence, it's Buck D. Wild. The D stands for damn, by the way, Buck Damn Wild. I mean, that's
he
what
was just that way, just plain and simple.
All right, in case some of y'all missed it, earlier this last week, we took a day off again. I think it was on Thursday. Some of the best video I've ever been able to shot. Frank was with us. Jay Bird was with us.
And Frank is doing much better, by the way, too, so he'll be back
Tony
next week.
put on a show in Grabling. I know y'all may get tired of seeing him, but here's a little bit of that right now to remember him with.
He's coming out of there.
Down there.
He's long. He's real big.
I know it.
What is he weighing down there?
I don't know.
I don't want to get my hooks out of him. Hold this pole so he don't come loose. If I get him out with this pole.
Yeah. Hold.
I got him.
Make sure that pole.
Hell, I got him. He's on there. I got him on set. Get him. He's gonna get loose. Get down. I got him.
Get out of here.
Where is he? I can't see him.
I told you he was in there, Bob George. Your buck D Wild don't mess around, brother.
Man.
Hold him up.
That's where I was stuck.
Put him over there, Wayne. Hold him up there, Joe, where I can see him.
He might got loose.
That guy, again, and Sheriff Blakey's got some stories he told about once many years ago when Tony was working at somebody's house on the river, Elk River, and Mike and Debbie, I guess, go down there, and I guess they was married back then. I don't know. They've been married for many times. And they get out in the boat, the people's boat. Have you heard this story?
I know.
And Tony rams it up on shore or something, just splits it in. He said, "You think they'll be mad?"
Oh my goodness.
And then, you know, I think Sheriff Blakely, when he was a trooper, I think he first meets Tony. He's riding a motorcycle on the back wheel down through downtown Athens. So many different stories. But one thing about Tony, and when he ended the conversation, he didn't say bye. Over. I'm trying. Tony took me to Dog Days. He first introduced me to Dog Days back on Memorial Day 15 years ago. Took me to Dog Days, taught me the Davy Crockett ways of things, you know. I put him in there with Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, and people like that. But the other day, I was talking to Tony. I said, "You're going to be on again tomorrow." And then he sends me, after the next day, up here, Groovy. Then he texted me the next morning after it ran and said, "Good show." Then, Saturday afternoon at 1:23, after all the madness with the policeman being killed in Dallas Friday night, he sends this. Just as you, without you knowing what it said, you basically pegged it. He said, "World has gone crazy. Better get ready. It's coming."
Exactly right. And he would be ready.
Standing there to take care of anybody.
Now, years ago, we did a thing. You saw the Duggars run Tuesday here. Melvin and Duggar wrote a song called "Rags to Riches." Great Christian story about not having much and having all the riches when you go to heaven. Tony came up here and sang that song. How long ago was it?
That was in 2012.
2012, several years ago. We're going to play that. So I don't know any funeral arrangements right now on our dear friend Tony Grigsby. I just know that he was beyond one of a kind. He was awesome. Like Jeff and Gloria just said, do anything in the world for you. There'll never, ever be another Buck D. Wild, I can tell you that. But Tony came up here and sang that song in honor of our dear friend Tony Buck D. Wild Grigsby. Here's him singing that song from several years ago. God bless you, Tony. We ain't ever gonna forget you.
Yep, live on, brother.
Roll the video.
Been so poor all of my life, everybody knows it's true. You couldn't count all the holes that I've had in my shoe. And all these rags I'm wearing are getting mighty old. The devil can have them back, but it can't have my soul. And I'm gonna go from rags to riches when I walk through the pearly gates. I done made my reservation, so I won't be late. Well, I've been so poor all my life, so I won't hesitate. Gonna go from rags to riches when I walk through the pearly gate. Well, this old car I'm a-driving, it's not a Cadillac. And if I was to buy one, I'd have to send it back. I don't have a mansion with a crystal chandelier, but I got a better home waiting whenever I leave here. I'm gonna go from rags to riches when I walk through the pearly gates. I done made my reservation, so I won't be late. say, gonna go from rags to riches when I walk through the pearly gates. Well, you can go from rags to riches, but I tell you what you got to do. You gotta give your heart to Jesus